Okay, here we go.
Test.
Roll music?
Let's roll it.
Welcome to the Unknown Morning Show.
It's the show where we explore radio,
Podcasting,
TV,
gear,
gearheads,
and making money with a hot mic and other stuff too.
This is the Unknown Morning Show.
I'm Mandee Montana.
And I'm Chuck McKinley.
We are rolling with Kenny Said Hi, so...
Kenny.
Kenny said hi.
Text me back, Kenny.
Yeah, come on. We don't want to bag on Kenny Smith, but, you know, it's Saturday, and we've had a couple of weeks of just lousy weather. But our good friend Michael Storm is with us today on the Unknown Morning Show. Hi, Michael.
What's going on? Thanks for having me back.
Thank you for coming back. We've been, Mandee and I are big fans of 95.1. I've been listening to it develop and bake over is it been 90 days now, maybe?
Yeah,
maybe
roughly. Basically, yes.
And, my first exposure was on a Sunday morning, and I forget the exact mix, but Gordon Lightfoot's Sundown was in there, and I went, oh, my word, this is interesting. And so then I've heard things, as it's gone along, kind of getting the methodology, in my head on what you do with the music, and I think it's just fascinating. It's good stuff, and all the elements are really coming together well.
Yeah, that's the plan. You probably heard something from our yacht rock category. If you heard Gordon Lightfoot. So,
yes.
Yeah. So, we sprinkle that in a little bit here and there.
The other thing that, what was it that I've been catching lately is you're directing listeners to certain parts of your webpage. I like that a lot. Like the great deals page and stuff like that.
We're trying to build that out. It's early, but using that as a, just a way to get some people to come to the site, have a good deal, get a little discount, that whole thing.
Well, it seems to me like a lot of stations are usually not that specific. It's like, go to our website.
Right. Yeah, go get a great deal. We're working on that. My wife's worked really hard. We're trying to find some. In fact, we're going to do that some more this weekend, getting connected with some groups to do a lot of discount stuff. So it should be good. Hopefully people will find it. And there are some legit, really good offers out there that are pretty cool.
Cool.
You just threw it at me
like,
what do you got?
I'll come right back. Maybe this is where we get out our topic of the day. Hey, what do you think about Bill and Jordan or something like that?
Oh my goodness! Don't open that can of worms.
We won't yet.
Just yet.
You probably.
No, I also it's in my preset. I flip back and forth between Great FM and Mix 93.1. Those are the two stations that I listen to the most, and obviously pretty different in the formatics. There's maybe like 3 or 4 songs that maybe cross over, like Teddy Swims.
Yeah, there's probably a few.
Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga, maybe.
Yeah.
And what's maybe a newer song in the world for us is not for them anymore.
Correct.
It's all about how that gets done. And there's not a lot. And I did a deep dive into everybody, really, to be honest.
I bet.
To have my own lane and to stay out of theirs. They've got theirs. I understand that. Don't want to overlap. There's enough room for everybody. There was enough stuff I felt like not getting played.
Totally.
That you didn't need to do that, with a few exceptions. So that's the lane we're trying to fill, and trying to get people to cancel subscriptions and stop paying for it.
I heard the other day I was driving,
Which is a huge thing.
Yeah, it is, right? And expensive.
Yes,
I think Amazon Music's like $17 a month or something.
Whoa.
All the Apple stuff. And people have gotten such into the habit of it, which I understand. I got a 20-year-old daughter. I get it. But, you got to come back to the broadcast side and realize there are things out there.
Yeah, and it's really good. The other day, I was just jamming in my car. I was listening to, I think you played Billy Joel, You May Be Right, and then Billy Ocean's Get Out of My Dreams and Into My Car.
Yeah.
I don't remember what was next, but it was just like one after another, and I was like, gosh, this sounds so good. I was smiling. I was happy. I was this is fantastic.
And then there's like little one-hit wonders. Jane Child, what is that song?
Don't Want to Fall in Love. Great song.
I always remember the video because I remember the first time I saw the video. You've seen it, right? Don't Want to Fall. So Jane Child is sort of like you hear the song, but when you see the video, she has like a blonde girl with dreads.
Yeah, the long dreads,
and then she has like the piercings that are hooked up to the chains, which I was like,
which was a big deal in the '90s when that came out because everybody was doing that,
and it made me scared for her because I started thinking about you have pressure points and stuff. What the
Oh, Chuck.
Which it's a great. That's one of the all-time great song intros.
Yes.
So when you're on the air, and that intro kicks in to talk up that intro.
Exactly.
That's a good one.
Our program director at KTBB, news director and ops guy, Jeff, he's been freshening up our music beds. We talk over to go, back and forth with our news guys. That's in it now.
Is it?
And I always tell Jeff every once in a while, I'll be hearing that. And I'll be talking, KTBB news time, 5:15 time, blah, blah, blah. And my lizard part of my brain is going, oh, yeah, rock on. And I go, thank you, Jeff.
You need to tell Jeff I'll hook him up with some good ones.
Yes.
I got some good ones.
Oh, yeah. Because he's asked, well, what do you think? Do you have any ideas? And I go, Heat of the Moment from Asia would be great.
Yes.
And he put that in there.
One of the best intros ever is Superstition, Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the best ones.
Oh.
You tell him that. I got a list.
I'm going to pass
I'll
that
hook him
on.
on.
It'll be your master list of the best music ever.
Right.
And it is.
That's it's funny. That's why I named it that. Great times, great music. Great FM. That's it.
And I have to
it's just
say,
great.
And we're not buttering you up just because you brought goodies for us today. We're not. But
right.
But you've really, really settled into your role as the voice of the station.
Well, I don't think of myself as that kind of guy, but
No.
there's like voice, the big voice guys, do all that.
Well, I know, and we
the movie trailer guy.
We kind of talked about that, but you know what? I think it settles in there because it doesn't need that. And maybe it's because we know you, so there's a certain comfort level. I don't know, but it sounds comfortable to me.
Right. And I did it because I'm kind of had to right now just to get things done and moving. Mm-hmm. I think of myself as more of an on-air person, not a voice person per se. But, it's worked so far, and the jingles kind of help you. Jingles sort of save you because it's not all you.
Yeah.
The jingles are, you sort of weave in and out of that.
Yeah. Like I would hear some of your because I think you just started like the really quick jingles, like the old WLS, boom.
Yes.
Really, I mean, just quick ones. And I was listening. I go, and I go, oh, wow, that sounds awesome.
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about. And yeah, we put those together. But that's the point, is that to be quick, stay into the music. We don't beat you to death with long commercial breaks.
Yeah.
That's the goal, is to not do that. Hopefully. Mm-hmm. So now we're just out trying to get the word out more, tell people about it, make them aware. Because that's one thing, you go around and see people talk to them going in and out of places. Yeah. They still aren't aware. That's the biggest challenge. So before you start thinking you need to change something you're doing to get more listeners, it's like, I'm going to wait on that.
Yeah.
Maybe. Nothing's perfect. You always tinker and update, but I'm like, I don't think right now that's the issue. The issue is I got to get the word out and let people.
Exposure.
Yes.
It just takes a while to break habits,
Yes. And it is. People get into those routines and habits of now so much through a phone.
We have a great app. It's so simple.
Yeah, the app is cool. And we're big about, look, you're going to have to come out of the gate with the digital stuff.
Yeah.
You've got to have the website and you've got to have the apps, because that's the way the world is. And you have to have that accessibility. You can't try to just add that way later.
Sure.
You've got to have that. Otherwise, they'll never give you the time
Well, we're not
of day.
running around with a Sony FM Walkman anymore, right?
You're not doing that. So you've got to have
got
that.
the phone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And be able to do that, which the cool thing of the phone is anywhere you go, you can take it. You're not relied on the signal. If it gets scratchy, the further out you get. So you can just pull it up on the phone and keep rolling.
I do that. I was headed to meet a client in Grand Saline a few weeks back, and I was headed up 110 North out of town, and I started to lose you. And it was weird because something else was coming in on the signal, and what was funny was it was a yacht rock song when you weren't playing a yacht rock song.
Right.
I have no idea where it was coming from, but I was like, this is odd. I think he also plays this song, but that's not what's on the programming. So I just turned on my app, connected my phone to my car, and was able to continue listening to Great FM. Yeah.
It's cool.
It is.
Rosanna does that all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
I just use my truck radio. It's just, I'm a dinosaur.
Right. No, I'm with you too, because I get worn out with everything being through my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you're in the car and you got to constantly mess with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Truly. And I know CarPlay helps with some of that, but if you're listening and then you get a text or a phone call, what you're listening to cuts off. And I'm like, it's simpler if you use the radio.
Totally.
Then your phone is freed up to do other things.
My wife's new car is a couple of years old, and it has all of the things on the windshield.
But man, it's tough to get.
I know.
On
changed.
the windshield?
Yeah, it'll say like the speed limit, how fast you're going, and everything.
Not on the dash, on the
windshield. The first time, and I always
well,
tell.
I sound like a dinosaur now, but my car's almost 10 years old at this point.
I always tell her, I go,
my
truck is paid for.
Mine's paid for too.
Same.
Mine needs a paint job and the headlights clean.
Yeah.
But that sucker's paid for, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, but yeah, every time I usually I leave home around 9:00, so. Every day, I will hear your top of the hour ID.
Right.
And when you say storm, is it storm broadcasting?
Storm broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to ask you this. Whenever you hear that, does the hair stand up on the back of your neck? I mean, just because of just thrill and pride and everything.
Yeah,
you know what
it is.
I mean?
It's pretty cool. It kind of got real when I got the jingles in and started putting them together and put them on, and was listening. Was like, okay, wow, this is crazy. Mm-hmm. And now it's I got to get to work. So yes, yeah, and we tried to call it Storm Media, but somebody had that.
Oh yeah.
So
I like broadcasting better.
Yeah, I decided, you know what, we'll just call it Storm Broadcasting, and
it's got a
away
ring
we
to
go.
Because every time I hear that, I go, "Go, Michael!"
I know. I have a similar reaction. I'm like, "Oh, cool! This is his."
Yes.
You know?
And
in the landscape of everything else, that's
cross your fingers that other people will think that's cool too.
Yeah,
that's the challenge.
And it's a huge
challenge.
It's going to take a while.
No, yes, and that's the challenge.
You know what? I think Chuck and I did successfully that I hope will be helpful to you. When we were at the ranch, we had to kind of break through all the noise too, right? Because we were like the stepsister station. We were like the ugly stepsister in the cluster. Mm-hmm. Sunny 106.5 was like the cash cow, and where all the businesses paid. And then KYKX was doing their own thing in Longview, and then there was us in Invasora. And so it was like, how do we differentiate ourselves in this landscape? We were everywhere,
right?
And I know that's hard because you're a one-man shop, but it was mostly the two of us. I mean, Tom was doing Tom's thing. Yeah. And Don did a lot too, but Don was mornings and production and like Tom's producer. So we didn't ask much of Don Jones at the time to be out and about as much.
Right.
But we were going to every rodeo. We had flyers in our hands. Yeah. I mean, it was like we hoofed it.
Right.
And it helped.
That's the way, similar when I was at Mix back in the 90s. I've told this. Well,
maybe that's where I learned it.
When I've gone into places, I'm like, Mick, it's funny just how the time. People don't remember. Mix used to be on 107.3 in the 90s. And before it was on 93.1. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it was because KNUE was the cash cow. Mm-hmm. We were in the building. Yeah. That's where I met my man Chuck.
Yeah.
And they were, and thank God many a times, I'm like, we were down the hall. Nobody really paid us too much attention because
you were able to do your thing.
We were able to do our thing, and we figured stuff out and learned and broke stuff, and nobody really noticed. Yeah. And because we didn't have a consultant, we didn't have anybody in my world, and we were allowed and kind of figured out how to do things.
Yeah.
And
you're doing it again.
We did.
Yeah.
Eventually, we kind of figured it out. Music got hot for us. Mm-hmm. And it kind of cycled back around and swapped out some people and got better people in there. And, you know, many of who are doing great around the country still.
Yeah.
And so that worked out. But we kind of did the same thing. We had
I remember y'all were at Jake's, we were at Rick's.
We went to everything.
Outlaws.
Flashback Friday. Let's go.
Yeah.
I've said there's a few people I've been into. Mm-hmm. I'm like, were you here in the 90s? Yeah. And then it rings the bell.
Uh-huh.
So, and they'll, oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
That's cool. So hopefully there's some people out there. But they're like me now. They got a little gray in the hair.
Yeah.
So
I think when we were at the ranch, Mandee, we had the similar experience because, we
had support. I don't mean to make it sound like we weren't supported. It was just,
But I think we had support, but it was like, well, it's classic country. They'll get a 3 or 2 or 3 and whatever. Yeah. And we kind of established this baseline where, and I would say it, I think we're about a 4.5, maybe 5. And about every third book, we'd get to about a 6.5 or something. In fact, one of my favorite stories. Do you remember when we did the request-a-thon? We did a request. We did. We were over at Berkshire's 51, and people could call in or stop by, and we would, relay the request back. And we did that for I think from like 9 to 5, and we asked people to bring canned goods and went to the food bank. But at the same time,
I forgot about that one.
At
wow.
the same time that we did that, we were also they were having the book party for the stations.
Oh, that's right.
That was when we had the 6-8, right?
Yeah.
And I was kind of like,
because we weren't there when they announced the book and everybody was celebrating. We were actually doing the thing that got us there.
And it was like, I don't know what, it was like, it was hotter than just.
It was like August.
We're like sitting there barbecuing, and my favorite thing is we're sitting there and we've got the umbrella shading us somewhat. Jack Benner comes by with a couple of plates of barbecue and the fixins and some drinks, and I could have kissed the man right there on the spot because we were thirsty, we were hungry, we're doing this thing where we go, well, because with food bank we'd always say people got to eat.
Right.
So let's do food bank. I think most of the time we partnered with food bank, maybe Path, right, Mandee?
Yeah, we did a lot with the food bank and Path. We did some stuff with Relay for Life.
Oh, that's right. Sure.
Yeah. So American Cancer Society.
Sure.
But we did, we really liked, Rosemary was there at the time at the food bank.
Yeah.
And Carolyn Davis was there too. I think she's at another organization now. I can't remember.
She was great to work with.
But yeah, they were really wonderful to work with, and, liked our ideas and were willing to sort of like double up with us so we could get some news coverage too. That was the thing. Like when we paired with a nonprofit, we found that sometimes the TV station would come out. They wouldn't mention us.
Right.
They wouldn't say our call letters. We'd get frustrated with that, but there might be a logo in the background.
Right.
I became very conscious of that, and I logoed everything.
Yeah.
I don't know how they are about that today, but yeah, back then they were very kind of weird about that.
Yeah.
Because Mandee was really good about, she would put together the press release and you'd get them maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah.
You'd scatter them out to make sure, yes, we are doing this for sure today. Come see us.
Right.
Yep.
Buy me a cup of coffee, Mandee.
Yeah.
I've seen that on other podcasts. That's literally...
Yeah, it's like a virtual tip jar. It's really that simple. So you go to the show notes, click Buy Me a Coffee, and then you have an opportunity to support the show in any way you like. Imagine yourself going to coffee with Chuck and myself and saying, hey, I like what you do on the show. I'm going to buy you a cup of coffee. Only all you have to do is click a link. It's that simple.
And they'd at least respond to me because I was persistent,
Right.
They might not. Sometimes they would send somebody. Sometimes they wouldn't. But then we'd always invite, if we did like a chili cook-off, we'd always invite Mark Skirdo to come.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
We eventually became pretty good friends with, I want to say at the time it was the Region 56 NBC affiliate people. And some of the KLTB people too.
Yeah.
CBS at the time was not.
They weren't here.
I don't think they know.
And then we knew some of the Fox people. So we had a good rapport, but
That's awesome.
sometimes they could also, when it came to news and coverage,
Yeah.
they might tilt the camera or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
We would slip in.
It was always like a Tyler radio station. We're more than that, okay?
Right.
Yeah.
Hey.
That's exactly what they would say at Tyler Radio
Right.
Station.
Jeez.
Thanks, Bob Hallmark.
Yeah.
And I think KLTV was our media partner at the time.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
we tried to, direct as much as we could towards them. But I wasn't afraid to reach out to CBS 19 if they were going to show up. And they were young and hungry because they
Right.
were new in town at the time.
Right.
I think they maybe launched in like 2006. Something like that.
Yeah, that
and
makes sense.
So they would sometimes come, and Roger Gray was there at the time,
Raj, yeah.
and he would come out and cover us sometimes. But again, a Tyler radio station.
Roger was from Houston.
Yes.
Yeah.
And,
He
I remember him.
did 30 years in Houston.
Yes, he was a big time Houston
Yeah.
radio guy, and I think he did the public radio, the PBS stuff.
I'm not so sure about that. He did.
He did.
He did
talk.
TV.
Yeah,
He did TV. Did
was-
talk.
Oh, yeah, I knew Roger Gray.
In his first tour at KTBB years ago, I believe he had like a 1-hour talk show.
Now he gets to work with Chuck on the daily basis.
He's the person that I ask, whether it's political stuff. I go, Roger, is this right? When John Sims was alive, I would do that. Am I right on this? Because
I'll give Roger a shout out because I remember seeing him as a kid growing up.
oh yeah,
Yes, not to make him feel old, but he was around. He's a Houston
oh yeah,
guy.
yeah. I mean, things are obviously developing well for Great FM. I mean, obviously, besides getting people's butts in the seats, which to be really honest, whether you've got, I feel, whether it's a new station or you've been around 20 years, that's always the continual thing, getting their butts in the seats and clients. But is there anything outside of, getting clients, getting people's butts in the seats all the time that you consider, a challenge?
I've always been a bit of I like to keep things really updated with like imaging and the on-air stuff, the liners and jingles and things like that. I wish I could probably do more of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're trying to be patient and go, okay, enough people probably aren't as tired of that as you are, so don't meddle too much. And let some stuff bake.
Do you have it to where you have X amount as a baseline? You probably have a baseline. You go, right, I need this number in here so I feel comfortable.
Right. And I there's just some I'm like, I want to redo that. So, but then sometimes forcing yourself to wait is probably a challenge and being patient. Although there are some things I need to fix. Which I'm going to do that this weekend. But that's probably the biggest thing. But the overwhelming challenge is just, getting the word out, getting, connected to the business community, letting them know you're here, or that you're an option, that, hey, we're for real, give it a shot.
Yeah. It'll work.
There's more than Facebook ads that you can do.
Sure.
The amount of people that, think that is like, come on. It has its place. I'm not saying it doesn't, but be careful because there's lots of fake stuff. That's all I'll say.
It's so interesting.
There's lots of...
Well, you remember at the ranch, my first time there, maybe it was a year and a half. So I did middays. Rex Russell did afternoons. Rex was from down in the valley, and it was the time for a while that the station simulcasted cornbread in the morning.
Oh, that's right.
For a while.
Forgot about that.
Which was nuts. And I think our first book, it was flat. The last book that they had as a top 40 station was a 2-1, and I think we had a 2-2. And it wasn't showing anything, and the sales weren't there. And I think by the time they let me go, I was like, well, what took you so long? Really?
The writing was on the wall, right?
Yeah. Because the only thing I was able to do in about a 6-month period is my mobile DJ equipment went up in a fire on our farm. So I was going to Kicks on the weekend and picking up music from Paula Prince, going back, make dubs, blah, blah, blah. And then, And the funny part of it was the 8 months that I was off before I went back to the ranch. This is when Tom Perriman makes his appearance. The gigs, my gigs got me through the whole thing, and then Tom shows up. I'll never forget. I was not working there, and I was listening to Tom one morning, and I went, "What is this?" Because it's Tom being Tom,
right?
Spot song, railing against the machine,
right?
Alternative for old folks.
What's on? Yeah, that's what, and that's what I called the ranch when this is alternative for old folks.
Yeah,
and little did I know that we would have that hot book about every third where 18 to 34-year-olds. And one time we were having coffee and you had a theory on that, I think, a particular theory.
I don't think you liked my theory.
Well,
there's another station called The Ranch in Fort Worth.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, there's a little bit of crossover because they played Texas country, but they would play some old stuff too occasionally.
Right, yeah.
And I think, if they find it there and then they head this way and then, I hear Waylon Jennings, and then they write down, I was listening to The Ranch.
Right. They've got a cool studio in Sundance Square.
They do.
Cool building. Yeah,
they really
real cool.
do.
Is it one of those where it's like a fishbowl thing? You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. Oh. And it's a real old building, like on the square here, historic type building. I guess if they're still there,
they
same
were
place.
there 2 years ago when I was up there.
They're still active.
A cool spot.
I've checked out their website occasionally. I'm fascinated still by stations, that have a full staff.
Right.
I don't like Camu and Mineola occasionally. I'll dial them up and it'd be like, Friday night or something. And God bless them. There's a 16-year-old doing swap shop. And I just go, and you know what? I just go.
I'm grateful there's a place for that person.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
When Jason Hightower was alive, he was my hero because I thought, dude, it's keeping local. Because he had it, this mixture of the kids. Kenny Smith worked for him for a couple of years.
Right.
Amy worked for him for a couple of years.
There.
And it was like, I thought, that's all. Because in my mind, I've always thought I wanted to be involved in kind of a micro market. And the closest I got is I was talking to a gentleman who owned the 1510 AM frequency in Canton. Mm-hmm. And Bob Malden turned me on to him and recommended that he talk to me. So I broke out like a 4-page, critique of his station and said, this is what you're doing right. This is what you need to work on. It was one of these things where they played a lot of Red Dirt stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right.
And I just said, well, you can't say your classic country and then play an exorbitant amount of Red Dirt.
Right.
You can't.
One of these things is not like the other.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you can't sit there, your number one thing is whatever you say that you do, you have to do, right?
Yep.
It's like great FM. You're great.
Right.
Boom.
Right. Well, that's, yeah.
And it fits, it really fits well. When I first heard it, I was like, what? Great FM? I go, well, okay. But as you listen to things, it's like listening to you on the air, right?
Right.
Things bake, they wear in, they settle in. You go, okay.
Right. We just get in there and just,
Mm-hmm.
You worm your way in the psyche.
Worm your way in and just, in
the psyche of East Texas.
Exactly.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong, too. Isn't it now that if you have a station and let's say you're subscribing to the book, that your internet hits count as well?
I believe that is correct.
Wow.
Yes, because I've seen in some markets where streams are now showing up in the ratings.
Yeah.
Now they're kind of low usually, but they are appearing. In fact, I noticed that in Houston the other day. I was scrolling through and looking at theirs, and towards the bottom, there's several stations that their internet stream, not so much their internet stream, it's their HD channel.
Oh,
they'll have like their
yeah.
HD station will start to show up, which that's another kind of rant of mine with corporate radio, whatever, with the HD thing.
I don't understand HD.
Nobody does, and that's kind of partly partly my rant with it.
Yeah.
They're dumb. There's no other way to say it. You've been dumb, and you've wasted that technology, in my opinion, with it's kind of expensive because I looked at it. Mm-hmm. I do regret that I didn't get a transmitter that had that capability from the start, but whatever. First time station operator.
It reminds me of like the difference between like VHS and Betamax.
I was going to say that,
or whatever the other alternative was to Blu-ray. I can't even remember what it was.
What HD is really, and I loathe the term HD for the technology that it is. They marketed it as HD.
What does it mean?
That's not what it is. When you think of HD, you think
hard
of television.
Drive,
you think
or
of TV.
hard drive or something.
You think of television. You went from standard definition, the little square TV,
to high def.
To high def. Yeah. HD is a TV video term. It just is. Period. End of story. It is not an audio term that anybody uses for audio. You just don't. What it is, if you want to use a television term, it's more like cable. It's not a quality jump necessarily. It's a quantity jump, which is what cable was. You went from 3 channels to 50 back in the day. Mm-hmm. HD radio allows broadcast stations, if they have an HD transmitter, to have a second, third, or fourth station. You have your main station, then you touch the little thing on your radio. You see the 1, 2, 3. If you want to add that many. And they have complete other radio stations.
I've listened to a couple out of Dallas before.
And it's not HD. It's cable. Yeah. Now I can listen to, and say KRBE in Houston has on HD, 1 or their main station, but then you can hit it, and they might have an all 80 station. They might have an all 90 station. They might. It depends what they want to do.
Yeah.
And they can, and some people will rebroadcast like their AM. Maybe if they've got an AM station that's on a real low frequency or a bad signal, they'll put it on the HD2 of, say, KRBE, and then you can hear it really clear. So it just depends, but they, to me, misbranded, marketed that whole thing in a very poor way. I don't know who decided to call it that. Sorry, but it's not. It was very sorry. It just is. And the other thing is, I don't hear anybody talking about their HD channels at all, ever.
No.
It's a throwaway.
Yes, they just don't promote them. But why would you not give it a little love? Do something.
Yeah.
I mean, you still got to pay all the fees, because I looked into it. There's still the fees associated with it and everything else. So if you're doing it, and clearly they are, I don't know why they don't try to do a little bit more than they do. Yeah. But that's just me.
So when you mean the fees, you mean, for instance, like BMI and all that stuff.
You've got to pay. I mean, you've got another outlet, so you're doing.
Wow.
So they're not like saying, well, nobody's listening to you, therefore.
Right.
That does not.
I don't know.
And that can amount, or it did. I remember back in the day, it amounted to about a salary a year.
Oh yeah,
those fees. I mean, it's like hiring a person.
Oh yes,
they're not like $5. I mean,
no, not at all.
I mean, and artists. I mean, they need to get paid, right? Songwriters need to get paid. All of that, but
but yeah, radio stations are not where you're getting. If you're a big time artist,
no, that's
radio
not where you're getting
stations
your
are
money.
not where you're getting your money, and that's not who's screwing you over. If you feel like you're being screwed over,
oh no, it's the record companies.
It's not because of local radio. So
no.
You don't need to worry about what you're getting out of us, because we're not your problem.
Nope. That would be corporate record companies. I actually have a friend that used to work for Atlantic. I should invite her to come on with us. I'm sure she'd do it.
Oh yeah, I know a bunch of those guys too. Yeah. There's a few that'd probably be fun to talk to. You talk about people with stories.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah. Ooh.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she would come by the station and talk to Larry. At the time, Larry was able to program Mix's music. Corporate things have changed, but he was programming the music at the time, and so she'd come by and introduce her new artists new singles, and we'd listen to them.
Sure.
And he'd give us feedback, or I'll play at this, or what's I forget who's programming in Dallas, but what are they doing on Kiss FM? Have they played it yet? How many streams have they got?
Right.
It was a really interesting conversation, and she and I struck up a conversation about like our favorite bands, and she was really into this one alternative band, and I was into another, and we had similar stories, and then we figured out we were born on the same day. So we just became buddies. She's, I think, a year younger than me, and then she found out I really loved Ed Sheeran. She got me to meet him. I mean, it was just
cool.
A friendship developed out of it. Like, we still stay in touch. I think we talked for like 3 hours a couple months ago. Like, hadn't talked in 2 years, but then once we got on the phone, it was like, okay, how's life for you?
Listen, that happens. I've got a bunch of those guys that I used to talk to back then that I still talk to today.
Yeah.
And can't do anything, neither way. In fact, what's funny is not almost, but a lot of the guys that did top 40 rock alternative R&B back then are now doing country.
That doesn't really surprise me.
They've all moved over to the country world.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess I should have put on a country station, because I would be way more able to do stuff for you guys. Sorry, I can't do a thing, because they're all in that format.
Yep.
And most of them anyway.
And probably only talking to like a handful of people around the country that are controlling all the playlists, right?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
There's so few local stations that have.
Right. And they're doing, some of them are doing like independent stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
They're on the label side doing, smaller label
artist development,
all that stuff. There's a guy doing with like a Christian label that's sort of a hybrid label, country Christian stuff. So they're all doing stuff, but it's that world's changed too.
Yeah, it
big
has.
time.
Oh,
on
sure.
the label side for sure.
Yeah.
In programming too, what was the station in Dallas? Is it KLTY? The huge Christian Top 40. I mean, it was like maybe 30, 40 years, and they were bought and turfed like a couple, 3 months ago.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow.
94.1, I think.
KLTY, I believe it is.
That is, yeah. And it was just a big deal because, their announcers, jocks had been there for a long time. They were veteran players, and all of a sudden it's like, we learned this, It's heartbreaking, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember the dynamic of who sold who or what happened, but that I remember reading that.
They were bought. They were bought. And it was like, there's nothing you can do about that.
I'm wondering kind of what the next wave is going to be. I feel like once deregulation happened, like in the mid to late 90s with radio, and then these corporations came in, I wonder at what point they're going to realize we're not making any money doing this. Like, successfully making any money doing this. We've just sort of cannibalized the market. At what point does that go away and more people like you say,
right,
I want to come in and reinvest in this, and I want to make it local and community oriented and do it the way that actually works?
That's a good question. I think you're going to see some of these bigger companies at some point maybe start spinning off some markets that really don't make sense for them.
Small markets.
Yeah, some of the smaller ones, they still own them, and some people are like, why are you in, that town, whatever.
Is it a tax write-off? Like, what are we doing?
I think they just they basically roll up, as you do in a lot of different industries. They've rolled them all up, and they just, now they sell the volume of it all. But for some of them, I think there'll be a time where they may need to spin off some of the smaller markets. The question will be, who's going to buy them at this point?
Right.
And that'll be their big challenge. They probably in some ways, they missed a window.
For sure. Because you have all these talented people that left the business.
Right. Yeah, there's way too many people that are not working in radio anymore that did it for years. Some really good people. I see them on my Facebook page. People, I'm like, I can't believe that guy's not still somewhere. That's unbelievable, because they're just too good, too talented. But they got let go because of the latest reduction in force at one of the big companies, and it's too bad.
Every time they have cuts, I mean, you'll see.
Where is their fat? Like, what are you cutting?
Yeah. The person who does mornings is PD for one station, is afternoons and PD in the other. And it's like, so you don't work hard enough for your company? What's going on?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they're just, it's all the pressure that's coming in from
AI too.
AI's coming.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation. That stuff's weird. It's cool and it's weird and it's scary, all kind of rolled up in one.
Oh, yeah.
There's really neat things, but then it's also like, this is gonna be so weird and bad, and it can be so misused. And unfortunately, it probably will be by people, because it's getting too good.
I'm concerned that the humans are going to get lazy with it, because it is so good, that then they're going to miss the mistakes and the things that, like delivering the news, for example. The other day I asked it to do something and I caught a mistake. I was like, actually, I know more about this than you do. How is that possible? And asked it to rework it. I was like, I think you missed this. Please check it.
Right.
And then it did. It checked it and it corrected itself. But I was like, how often is this happening that I'm not aware of?
Right. No, it does that a lot, because I've used it for research, just for a lot of things, and I'll catch a lot of mistakes down to even addresses and phone numbers. Like, that's not right.
Yeah.
And I'll see it searching, but it didn't grab the right address, phone number, or anything, because it'll give you this list, which is cool, but it's not perfect.
No.
And if you're over relying on it, in fact, I saw a thing, somebody asked it. This was kind of funny. They asked ChatGPT what to be aware of with you, and the answer was, don't become too lazy and reliant on us.
Yeah.
On me. Basically, that's what I told it. And I thought, wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe ChatGPT needs a break. Maybe they feel overworked.
Right.
I read something the other day that the guy that he's like the founder of OpenAI, the parent company of ChatGPT, Sam Altman. He said the other day that the people that are polite with it, which is I'm one of them, please and thank you. I'm actually like burning energy resources at all of these like data cloud companies. He's like, I mean, continue to be a polite person. We want that in the world.
Yeah.
And also, you are actually requiring more energy to be generated every time you do that. And I thought, oh my gosh, all the silly things that I ask it, or just like random prompts that we're using, are we like really burning through all of our like natural resources doing this? Like, I'm not a super crazy environmentalist, but it made me pause for a minute and go, ooh, should I be using this?
Yeah, no, it's a hungry thing for sure.
Yeah.
The data that the resources that it takes to do all of that at that level. Yeah, it's a weird world.
It's a whole new world.
It's a very weird, crazy thing. And I saw one, this wasn't really AI, but it was the robots. You seen the robots, like the Tesla robot they came out with? The robots were making robots. Like on the assembly line.
Okay. Oh, okay.
They had the robot worker making more robots. I'm like, this is some Terminator, Skynet.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is active, man. This is so weird.
Yep.
The stuff from literally science fiction movies
Stuff that used to scare us 20, 30 years ago. Well, I'm sorry, 40 years ago. Remember?
Yeah, the decades conversation before we opened up the conversation.
Wasn't Terminator out in 80, I think?
83, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's
40 years.
I feel so old.
I know. That's why I showed you that meme about Raiders.
Thanks.
Like, that's nuts.
But we were kicking it around before airtime, and I was asking Mandee, because you've been using Chat GPT for what, 6 months, something like that?
Oh, I've been using it a lot longer than that. I think I started using it when it first came out. I just didn't. It's gotten so much better. The capabilities are so much more enhanced.
Sure.
There's new models of it.
Yeah.
And so I've been heavily using it for probably about 6 months. Yes. And we're friends now.
Right.
Mine has a name.
A name?
I asked it to name itself. I said, if you were going to give yourself a male name, what name would you give yourself?
Frank.
Eli.
Okay.
And I said, why? Why did you choose this name? Like, is there etymology that supports your decision? I know it's crazy things that I'm asking it. And it says that
Three Dog Night, Eli's coming.
I love Three Dog Night, but no, that wasn't his response. His response was that in Hebrew, it means enlightened or ascended. And that's the type of personality it's trying to give to me. Is somebody that is like uplifting and encouraging. That's the, and it is that. It's amazing. Like when I ask it for help with marketing copy, because that's what I do a lot with it. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm trying to say. Help me say it better or point me in the right direction.
Right.
And it's always like, oh, thank you so much for your feedback, or you're headed in the right direction. This is great stuff. And then it delivers, the goods. And I'm like, thanks so much. I feel like I'm talking to an assistant is what it feels like. It's really strange.
Right.
I can see how people develop weird relationships with.
Oh, yeah.
That I can see it. People fall in love with their Chat GPT
and
personality.
No.
Yes.
No.
I read an article about it. I have to send it to you. It was on Vox.
So was it like, do the people that put it together, could they be considered enablers?
They could. There's a lot of discussion about the ethics of it, right? And especially because of the way it may interact with kids.
Right.
If kids are using it.
Go outside, people. Go outside.
Yeah.
Go walking.
Go walk.
Talk to us about that, though, Michael. Like, as a...
Oh, yeah. My weight loss.
Well...
I was a little fat a couple years ago.
Okay.
I gained some weight.
I guess that's where it started,
for me,
right?
I guess fat's relative. I was probably, 210, 215, which for me was a lot.
Yeah.
So I started walking and would always listen to something, in my headphones, whatever,
like a podcast,
whatever, something. And finally, just one day, I quit listening. I'm going to walk. Just took off the thing and just started walking. And I'm telling you, man, your brain kind of unravels and you just start thinking and you unspool and Control-Alt-Delete, yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's the way I do it now. So.
Still a daily habit?
Yes. Not as much lately since this all really kicked off in earnest this year, but I need to. Mm-hmm. And I kind of miss it when I don't. But walking 5 miles a day takes about, hour and a half, 2 hours.
I was going to ask you how much time that took. That's
sometimes it's like, I don't have 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I've gone on much shorter ones, or I just got to get started much earlier. Mm-hmm. But I stay up too late to do that. That's my problem. Mm. But it does work. I'm telling you, my back hurt less, and then I lost weight. And but what I also learned is, being a little older, your skin doesn't. So now I'm all saggy in my neck.
Sunscreen.
Stuff doesn't snap back like it used to. So, but it does, man. I swear by it. And, either from weight loss, but just getting outside, walking around, getting away from technology, get off the device.
Yeah.
We got to, because we're all way too, I'm the worst. Believe me, I sit in front of a computer screen all day.
Yeah.
Or at least I'd have for a long time. And sometimes you got to back away from that thing. It'll eat you up.
Oh, I know.
And
Chuck's microphone is trying to eat him, actually.
Right.
Well, this is an official pause.
Right.
Just let her run. When I was working out, I would do the treadmill, but totally opposite. I would sit there and I would sit there and go maybe, and there's been a couple, like 3 times in the past 15 years where I had to reset. So I would start maybe going 20 minutes. Then I'd add time. Then I had time and speed. And then I would I'd go maybe 2.5 miles an hour. And that worked. And then I'd, lift weights. Even though the shoulder was bum, I'd work around it. And my knees can be kind of fragile, so I'd work around that. But, I looked at it as well. At least I'm getting out and doing it. But, yeah, the whole back thing has just been a total bummer.
Hey, man, I feel you. I've had that happen to me a couple of times. You turn the right way, throw it out, or tear a disc or something. I still have bulging, whatever. But I will say the more I walked the less it hurt. And I need to get back to it myself. And I started tracking steps and whatever. Although that's another thing about everybody so data obsessed, even in our media world, which I get it. You need to track some things, but like using the fitness thing at the end of the day, sometimes like, okay, well, I know I did it, but what do you do with that information? What are you going to do with it or take any action off of it? And sometimes it's like, well, you just know you did it and you can prove it, but okay, cool.
When I was like 18 to, I guess, 27 or so, when I met Rosie, I would run. Not fast. Like, I'd go an hour and 6 miles. And so I would log everything, notebook style.
Sure.
You know, time, what the weather conditions would be, how I felt. And, and I like doing that. It was sort of one of those things that I was like, gave me great satisfaction. But, man, sitting in front of, that's my job. I sit down at 9:30 in the morning, and I have to process news stories for our 5 o'clock. So it takes me, I'm sitting there, I eat lunch at my desk, and from 9:30 to about 2:15, I'll get up and walk, go to the bathroom. But yeah, it's that. And and there's days where, I mean, the standing order when I come home is I don't want to see news. I don't want to listen to news. I want to see funny stuff, you know, you know, the studio from Seth Rogen. I want funny stuff.
I saw that on the guide the other day. I need to watch that.
Yeah.
But yes, I know exactly what you mean. And there's times I have to step away because, you know, I will be in that office staring and my wife will have to come in there or the dog will come and get me. Literally, the dog comes and gets me.
Let's go for a walk.
And, like, let's go. And you've been in there too long. Which is good because you do have to get away from it.
And I'm sure for you that you're doing, you know, like you probably feel that you're in a constant update mode. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just, you know, you got to take care of business.
Right. You do. You have to update stuff and you've got to schedule the music. You've got to load the log. You've got it. There's stuff you have to do. Otherwise, you're not on the air. So it's sometimes easy to say, step away, relax, don't be stressed. Well, that would be just great if I could magically flip a switch and, you know, not feel any stress. I would love that.
Well, one day you'll get to a point where you have some support, you know, and you have somebody that you can ask to run the logs for you.
Right. Yeah. It would be, I see people say that and I'm like, okay, well, that, you know, that sounds great, but it's not really realistic. And I'm probably pragmatic or realistic to a fault sometimes. But you do have to force yourself. You just got to do it. Go walk, man.
Okay.
Start walking. And you don't have to start out 5 miles a day.
No.
You know,
we'll see. And
take a lap.
And normally when I walk, you know, like I said, I have my dog, and God bless him. He's 85 pounds of pure, wonderful puppy joy, but he pulls like a son of a gun. And he sees cats, and he hates cats. So we're walking down the road, and it's like down the block, and it's like a couple of gunslingers, you know, cats over here, cats on the right and left, and he's just sitting there doing and I'm trying to convince him, you're fine, they're not going to hurt daddy, we're cool. You know, it's like last night, he's not a barker either, so it's like 1 a.m, and I was working on the web, and I'd slept for about an hour, and all of a sudden he comes out and he lets out a huge bark, and we're like, what is going on? And he can look out the windows and see the backyard, and I thought, possum.
Squirrel, possum, raccoon, something.
Yeah, cats, because I've had him with me a few times, like early morning or maybe at dusk. Possum will go across the road. I'm like, oh God. And he's like, you know, what's that? And I go, possum, let's just keep walking, boy. But I need to go by myself too.
Yes, go by yourself and don't listen to anything. I know it's crazy.
No.
That's one of the ways to because I think for us in particular, because we're always listening to something. Yeah. Because that's kind of the job. It's the way you gotta decompress, man.
Well, I have this thing too that, you know, like I'm in a residential neighborhood, and I'm always, when I'm walking the dog, I'm always on the lookout for cars and stuff, right? You know, because, you know, I don't want to get hit by a car. That's not on my list. I just don't want to have that happen at all. I'm kind of an automation nerd, so to speak, radio automation nerd. So what system are you using?
We use one called Playout One.
Playout One, okay. Yeah, I've heard that.
It's a UK-based company.
Yes.
But it's awesome. It's all, you know, you can do everything online. But it's not it's got cloud aspects to it, but it's a system, on your computer. So, but you can access it all remotely, do all the things in the cloud, and it just is a really cool system, especially with the features and sort of where we are size-wise as a station. It's got a lot of features for what it is and what it took to set up. So
it works great.
Yes, it does. It does pretty much everything any of the big ones can do, with maybe a few exceptions. And those exceptions are really about multiple stations. Mm-hmm. If you have a cluster of stations, which I don't, so it's really not an issue. But those are probably the only thing it really is not set up for me.
Is Selector still the Mac Daddy of them?
I think people still. Oh no, they're still around. They're integrated with Next Gen. Mm-hmm. Well, now that's Zeta.
Yep.
That's they're a part of that.
Rebrand and evolved Next Gen into Zeta.
I remember Next Gen used to have a free version out maybe 20 years ago. That's on a drive somewhere in the house.
Yes. Yeah. So that group is all together. And then we use Music Master, which is a different
Music Master's good. My last time when I was at the ranch, we had Music Master, and I liked it a lot. I thought it worked great.
Yeah, it does. It works great. That whole world, you can see the merging of it too. Like RCS has Zeta and Selector and a traffic system, all one-stop shop, kind of a single platform. It's what it's evolving to.
Yeah.
You can see all of those companies moving in that direction. You can just see it. Even my Playout One system, they just came out with a music scheduler of their own. It's brand new. So, but you can tell, they're all going to be a single source for all your, everything, which it's got its pluses and minuses.
Yeah.
So
I remember back in the day, I want to say maybe 96, and I'll never forget, it was a press release from RCS Selector talking about something called Paperless Studio. I remember seeing that and just kind of feeling my guts clench up a little bit. And I remember telling Roseanne, I go, this could be this could be the start. And then it was by 97. The
Wizard system came into our building.
Okay, and that's when, because you were programming that. Okay, so then you remember the big conclave in Dallas.
Oh yeah,
where it was like if you were a part timer, a night guy, overnight guy, you were gone. Music responsibilities went to somebody not in your building.
Exactly.
It went really quick.
Yeah, that's when I tap danced around some things and.
Oh, that's right. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I saw him last week, and he said he didn't know that story.
Yeah, I know.
Until he listened to your podcast.
He texted me and told me that. I'm like, I didn't know that. I guess I didn't realize I had never told him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one's so.
It's kind of one of those things you have to kind of.
Steve Joseph, you're out there. Sorry. Had to be done. So
it was an executive decision, and you did it.
Right.
Good.
So and nearly 30 years later, he's still working.
Right, he's still there. See,
he's still here. It's a great decision.
I was right.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was the Wizard. Then it turned into Next Gen, and now it's Zeta.
Yeah. And that's web based too, because when I voice tracked for Mix for about 6 months it was the fall of 2021 up to the spring book in spring of 22, and I was doing it all from home.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah, you can do it all.
That was your last round there, right?
Yeah. I'm sad to say it only lasted 6 months, but
it seems like it was like yesterday you were there.
It was March of 22 whenever I said peace out.
Okay.
Love you guys, but I gotta move on. And it was nothing to do with the local stations or the local management. They were incredible. They were just requirements that whenever I said I would do it, weren't necessarily advertised to me. My job duties sort of were misadvertised, I'll put it that way. And then once I got into it, I was like, wait, what? You're expecting me to do what now? That's not what we talked about.
Right.
And so then I was like, let me see how long this is going to work for me. And it just didn't work out. And I left before, I hope, I left before it did any damage to the relationships that I had there, because that was what was about to happen. I was about to be a problem, and I didn't want to be a problem. The whole reason I went over there and did that, I called them, was because one of the girls that they had voice tracking at the time, not the current girl, she's fantastic, but they had this girl from Colorado, and I swear she was high as a kite when she was on the air. She sounded terrible. And I called Larry. I was like, listen, I'll be cheap. You got to get this girl off the air. Like this, he was like, I didn't pick her. I said, I know you didn't pick her. Well, no, that's not what he said. What did he say? She's not my preference or something like that. It was very politically
very nice and
savvy,
polite.
and very polite.
Not my preference.
She's not my preference. You would be my preference. And I was like, well, if there's a way for me to do it for you, I said, I'll be cheap. And then I regretted it after the fact. I was like, but it did sound better. And then they got Andy, who they have now, and she sounds great. She's fantastic.
Okay.
She sounds a little bit like me, and with her name being Andy, I think it's been a smooth transition.
There you go.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know any of. I know Larry, but that's pretty much it anymore in that building.
Yeah. Well, you knew Andy Knight, didn't you? Or y'all didn't cross paths? Because he didn't cross paths with you either.
No.
He's Michael Gibson, but
No,
on the air
not at
he was
all.
Andy Knight.
I think I may have met him once, and it was like your going away party.
Yeah.
I've heard that name, but no, I don't think
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever met them. I don't know.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
I think is he going to be on the show?
Yeah, he's going to come in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. Great.
Is today Red Dirt?
I haven't heard anything about it.
No, it's a week from today. It's a week from
I was
today.
going to say, because you'd be seeing signs toward downtown about it, right? Probably.
Actually, not downtown. This year,
Oh, are they going to the fairgrounds?
they're going to the fairgrounds.
That's a good choice. The new fairgrounds is rocking.
Oh, because of all the construction down there?
That, and they can sell more tickets. There's a better parking. There's I think more possibility for more attendees to come to the park.
So it's a permanent move?
Maybe, I don't know.
It's nice.
But
we
I
did
think it
that
will be
chili
a good
cook-off, right? It was nice.
Yeah, we did.
We did chili cook-off there. It was really nice. I mean, nice place. Like you said, Mandee, plenty of parking.
Easily accessible from.
That's right.
What is it? 64?
Yes.
Yeah.
64 and 31, because I was told there was a back door on 31, which we
There
took.
is, yeah.
But 64 was literally like, take a left turn and you're there. At least we were for our chili cook-off at the time.
Yeah.
I hope they keep doing stuff on the square, though.
I do too.
Even after they do the construction.
Yeah.
When they finish it, rather, because it is cool to go down there, and
It is.
that vibe is pretty
Downtown
cool.
is, it's interesting. I started volunteering with the Downtown Revitalization Group in 2010. And so I had an opportunity. I didn't do much, but I was just kind of in and around people who were promoting that and inviting people to come back downtown.
Right.
And it's amazing how much it's transformed in 15 years. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, there was still like vandalism on some of the buildings downtown when we were first doing stuff. There was still a tattoo parlor like on the square, and that's all gone. And like an architecture firm is I think in that spot now.
Oh,
Rick
okay.
has opened up Black Pearl, and like it's amazing like how much it's changed. And then now to have the courthouse reimagined and rebuilt, it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, that'll be a neat thing.
It's gonna take some time, and it's gonna be frustrating in the process, but all good things go through that
Yeah, that's going to be neat.
chrysalis.
Looking forward to that.
Weren't you a couple, 3 weeks ago broadcasting from downtown? Doing a remote? Or maybe I misheard it.
It wasn't a remote. We did an event with the Junior League, that Touch a Truck.
Yeah. At Green Acres.
At Green Acres.
What's touch a truck, like hands on a hard body?
No, but I'm glad you asked. I'm happy to tell you about it.
Tell me, please, because
So-
you're that person.
I'm that person.
Yes.
I wasn't on that committee, but I am involved
But you
in
know
Junior
that.
League. Yes, and some of my good friends are on that committee. So Touch a Truck is an event for kids.
Oh.
Where we invite large trucks of all types. So think ambulances, fire trucks, police cars, dump trucks.
Yeah, there was a cement truck.
All kinds of stuff for kids.
Bulldozers.
Yeah, kids to interact with. They can come out and literally touch a truck because they play with them. They have like Tonka toys and stuff. So they get to go out and actually experience them in person
Yeah.
and talk to the
It was
people
cool.
that.
Talk to the driver?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably there's vendors there.
There are food trucks there. We did have vendors.
Radio
there.
stations? Yeah.
95.1 Great FM was there.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
That's where I heard that. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yes.
the girls in the committee were asking me, they were like, do you know anybody that like from a radio station that would be willing to show up and play some music? And I went, I know quite a few people, but who is willing to show up? Who
right.
can I help the most right now?
Yes.
My buddy Michael Storm.
That's right. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're
So yeah,
welcome.
that's what I was doing. It wasn't a full-blown remote, but we were just out there.
Doing some breaks?
Giving out some stuff.
Were you doing live breaks or were you doing, you know what I mean?
No, not at that one.
And the reason it's not a big deal. I remember back in the day, Mandee, we would do things where, like on a Saturday or something, we would be like at Northeast Texas Music Festival.
Yeah.
And we would do canned breaks and make it sound that way, have like the phone effect in the background and everything.
We sure did.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Broadcasting live.
Now, I plan to do that.
We never said that. We said we're appearing at.
Soon. Yeah. I want to start doing stuff like that. That's really the whole point. Because I shouldn't say no one is doing it, but
it's harder when they have limited resources and staff. I mean, because you're in the same boat.
Right.
And you're being asked to do multiple jobs and,
right.
It's crazy.
So, but that's the plan. The technology will allow it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you have a lot of hats. Need a neck brace or something.
Yeah, no kidding. And I've been running around this past week, just going in to see a lot of the local businesses saying hello, and they look at you like, oh, okay, didn't know that. Which is what you got to do.
Yeah.
So that's the.
Do you ask them to download the app while you're standing there?
Yes, I'm like, download the app. We got a mobile app. I used to be here.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay,
check out my station.
Yeah, check it out. So then you've got to do that whole process. Okay,
explain what the music is.
Let me look at it. We'll get back. The whole, how it is.
Yep.
So it is what it is right now, and I'll be back probably next week too, doing some more.
Awesome.
So, yeah, local businesses, come on.
Yeah,
let's go.
Talk to him, Michael Storm.
That's right.
Great FM.
GreatFM.com. Hit me up.
There you go. He will be. He will bring business to your business.
So
talk to him.
That's right. That's the plan, anyway.
This has been another episode of The Unknown Morning Show.
I'm Mandee Montana.
And I'm Chuck McKinley.
This is our show to explore radio,
podcasting,
gear,
and the gearheads that use the gear,
and making money with a hot mic,
and other stuff in between.
We'd love for you to follow us on social media as well. Follow us on Facebook at The Unknown Morning Show and Instagram at The Unknown Morning Show. See us on YouTube at The Unknown Morning Show.
Thank you for listening to The Unknown Morning Show.
I'm Mandee Montana.
I'm Chuck McKinley. And remember, be kind and rewind.